to Diary of an Ex-Ho. I'm Cheri Hardman, I'm your ex-ho, and today's guest is Anthony Singleton. So sit back, enjoy the episode, and remember the old saying, always a bridesmaid when you're a hoe.
My name's Anthony Singleton. My pronouns are he, him. I'm straight, divorced, and that was all the questions you asked me.
And where you're from?
Oh, Spokane, Washington. I thought I crushed it. I thought I did.
Almost. That's a lot. Anyway, today's your birthday. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
The first thing we do on this podcast is a marry, shag, kill. And I always try to cater it to the person. So I'm going to share my screen right now. So, I better go fix something before I share it. Because sometimes I go to share and then my Facebook Messenger is showing for all the world to see and God only knows what I've said. Okay, let me go back to Zoom. Okay, now I'm going to share my screen. And since it's your birthday, well, first of all, marry, shag, kill. You have to marry one, shag one, kill one. And I did birthday suit edition. So these are all actresses that have appeared in their birthday suit. So you have to tell me which one you want to marry, which one you want to shag, and which one you want to kill.
Damn, that's hard. Why would you do that? Married, Selma Hayek.
Okay.
Shag, Holly Berry.
Mm-hmm.
And well, I would just kill Kate Winslet. She just
Right.
fell. She just fell down on the totem pole. That's all it is. It's nothing personal.
Right.
You know.
I know. I was looking at this and I don't know how I could pick. First of all, I would always marry the one that has the most money.
Oh no, man. It's Selma Hayek.
Well,
She's
she's beautiful.
Yeah.
All right. So there's that. All right.
Easy.
When it comes to sex, would you rather watch or be watched?
Yeah, that's a good question. You're starting out hot. I think watch.
Okay. Any certain reason or?
No, honestly, okay, here's the thing. Let me go back on that. I would probably be watched because at least I'm having fun and it's not all weird. I don't want to be that weird guy in the corner. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I mean, there's no offense to the guys that are in the corner. It's just not me.
Right.
Right? Different variables. Is it your girlfriend? Are you filming? I don't know. I don't have enough questions.
Yeah, that makes sense. Oh my God, I'm Cheri Hardman and I need you. I do. I need you to subscribe to this podcast because I know you're watching it. You like it. It's fun, right? It doesn't hurt you at all to subscribe, but it helps me a lot. So just subscribe. If you've already subscribed, comment. Comment on lots of episodes. Give it the thumbs up. It really makes a difference on whether I can make money off this podcast or whether I got to sit here looking like a raggedy, needing a haircut, wearing a shirt that's not in a flattering color, kind of hoe. So help a girl out. When you were a kid, what did your parents call your private parts?
Ooh, a penis?
They called it just by the regular old name, huh?
Well, yeah, my dad was pretty open about that stuff at a young age. So it wasn't ever, there was just a lot of openness in my house.
Right.
Dad's getting ready for work in the morning. Mom's getting ready. You just didn't think about it.
But there was no wee or pee or anything like that. Okay.
No, I come from a straight up black family. Okay, if you don't, it'll hurt your feelings if you play too much.
Yeah. So your parents were together.
Yeah, for a minute.
Okay. Would you say they were good role models of how to do a relationship?
Hell no. I don't know any parents that are good role models on how to do a relationship. I just don't. But I think they tried. They just they have their own kind of thing going on. Like people split. We don't view our parents as adults when we're kids.
Right.
They're just normal people, like mom and dad. So I don't think it was. I don't think I got to see what a relationship should be because my parents really started going through it around 11, 12 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So that older development piece, I didn't see that.
Mm-hmm. So how has their relationship affected you and your dating life or just your life in general?
Honestly, I think that I'm more resilient because of what I went through with my parents. I do. I mean, as a comedian, I definitely don't. I don't have a lack of crazy stories to tell. So
Right.
that's good. Two, because I haven't seen my parents together in a room for like 20 years, that you're kind of hardened by that, which makes you more flexible in the world because we live in a time now where people think the world changes because they do.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And if as a young age, I already knew the world's going to change regardless if I wanted to or not. So being able to adapt is one of the best things that have ever come from my parents' relationship. And I think culturally, we're just real resilient people. We understand in spite of nothing, we succeed. And those are the things that they've always implemented in me regardless. So,
Right. Cool. I want to talk now about what I call your sexual awakening. So this would be the time when you started to realize, wait a minute, there's something going on in this world that I didn't really realize was going on, whether it was changes in your body or things that you heard or observed. Can you kind of just tell me about that a little bit?
oh, yeah. Her name was Anita Bell. Yeah, I was an elementary school student on Guam at Harvest Christian Academy. And I remember that we got in trouble because we lived in base housing and she lived across the street. And kids, man, I'll show you yours, you show me, I'll show you mine. I think that's what I kind of noticed. Like, what are we doing here? Oh, vaginas. Yeah.
uh, did you have a celebrity crush when you were a kid?
Define kid though, like kid or like high schooler.
Either or.
Hey, Alicia Keys is she is always, Alicia Keys is always, she's beautiful and she can sing. Stop it.
um, do you have like, can you remember like a mainstream movie you watched? And it could be as a child or adult, but that had like a really hot sex scene that kind of you always thought about or
That's a good one. You know what though? Okay, check it out. When I was a kid, you remember um Basic Instinct?
yes.
Yeah. Which is
Yeah.
that's the one where she takes the legs and does
Uh-huh.
this. Yeah, that got me. That
Yeah.
got me. I was like, oh, wait a minute. And striptease with that girl from Saved by the Bell? God damn. You know what I'm saying? I went from Saved by the Bell to striptease. And that's
Uh-huh.
when I knew. Because I grew with her sexuality, is what I'm saying.
Right, right. There was a lot of rewinding on some of those movies.
Little VHS. Yeah,
Yeah.
you push that shit, just let it.
Do you watch porn?
No, which is weird. I mean, when I was younger, I used to have stacks of Playboys and all this other shit. But I think as I got older, like I've seen porn, don't get me wrong. But as I got older, I always thought that sexual relationships were based on how you interact with someone. And
Mhm.
once I started to understand that piece of pornography really didn't do anything for me. Right. Plus, it's an unrealistic expectation for some, especially for men, because these motherfuckers don't know what they're doing. So you taking some young boys and you putting them in an environment where they think this is real, and now they have unrealistic expectation for women. So I've been I'm more of the slut. Like I don't like to watch this shit. I like to participate. I'm a hoe. That's why I jumped on this.
Right.
So that's what I am.
I think pornography is making a lot of young men into really horrible lovers.
Oh, and pieces of shit. Because what happens is your brain starts to be callous to another person's needs.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I don't think I mean, I do a lot of different things, but when I move in comedy business that I run, everything is family oriented. So I want to make sure that like my nephew, he's getting the right messages. I want to lead by example. So if he asks me, I'm gonna be honest.
Mm-hmm.
But sex is better as on anyways. Go do it. Stop watching it. Don't be weird.
That's what's your definition of amazing sex?
There's so many different avenues. I think again, the older I get, I think communication is amazing sex, right? Because if you can have fun and both individuals get what they came for and you can giggle and try different things, that's amazing sex, right? Nobody wants that first time you have sex with somebody, that shit is awkward as fuck. That's not amazing sex. It's the second or third time after after you had that conversation and you actually have that connection. I think a lot of people, even if it's casual sex, you could still meet a motherfucker and connect with them and have great sex. It's that communication has to be there though.
Right.
Crushed it.
How's your body image?
How I view myself? Horrible, horrible. But I always believe in transparency. I mean, I lived in a home where my dad, okay, I'm 5'5", 230 right now. I broke the record. I broke the record for weightlifting in my high school at and all that stuff. My dad's 5'7", 130 pounds.
Mm.
So whenever I see my dad, especially being a black belt and he was in the military and he's always called me fat. Like since I can remember, he would wake me up and make me do push-ups and sit-ups and row machine and jog before school in elementary.
Oh, wow.
So I've always had this fluctuating weight issue because I know I can always get the body I want when I'm working and dedicated to it. But at the same time, I'm angry at health because it was forced on me. So
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen a side of myself that I actually liked. But what I will say is at some point I stopped giving a fuck about how everybody else viewed me and how I should view myself.
Mm-hmm.
So it's this weird thing. Like I'm in the gym all the time, but I still don't see myself as other people see me. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And I think
So
when you're in the middle of really good sex, you're not thinking about what your body looks like.
no, that's
Hopefully,
why I just focus. That's why I just focus on making sure they get theirs.
right?
And they don't pay attention to me.
Uh-huh. If everybody did that, everybody would have great sex.
100%. And I think it's great sex is about attention to details too. Like real shit. If you care about somebody else, you'll at least ask what they want. Or, I always think it's funny. I tell people men will look up how to fix a carburetor, but won't look up how to make a woman come. Like, what the fuck is that about? You're like, oh my fucking carburetor needs to be fixed. Well, so does your wife, dipshit. Like, what are you doing? Like, I've watched videos, I've read books. Like, if I want to do something, I want to be good at it.
Mm-hmm.
But men just don't care because all they want to do is have an orgasm and bounce.
Yeah. Do you have any sexual regrets?
Yeah, having sex too soon. I think there's a lot of shit that goes into you loving yourself and understanding how to care about other people. And I think there's so much time for sex. You don't need to. We literally force feed sex in this country, which is cool to a point, because there's things as a parent that I will totally go back on that I said when I was raising my kids. Right, I'd be like, make sure you have sex with one person you really like them, and then you get older, you're like, well, that's bullshit. Perfect practice makes perfect. So you're like, so
Right.
make sure you explore your sexuality and be safe and don't accept any of these dipshits in your space. Like
Mm-hmm.
that should have been the conversation. So I think that's what I would tell anybody is like, yo, just wait. I know it sounds stupid and corny as fuck, but you're gonna have time. Well,
Right.
if you're black in Spokane, you definitely gonna have time because we exotic out here.
Yeah. When I've done Spokane Comedy Club, that audience is pretty damn white.
They got so many variations of white out here.
Yeah.
They got trailer park white, meth white, fentanyl white. They got all of it.
Yeah, I've noticed that. God loves Spokane, though. I'm not.
I live
Uh,
here. I say this shit on stage at the club.
well, there's you and Charles.
Yep, me, Charles, and Harry J. Riley.
Oh, that's right. Yep, Harry too. Well, the three of you
There
holding it
Yeah,
down.
yep.
Um, do you feel like it's racist over there?
That's a loaded question. I think I think America is is it was conceived with principles that don't apply to a lot of Americans,
Right.
right? And I don't think that here is necessarily racist. I think that the institution is racist, and there's a lot of things that white men in particular have been told that weren't the truth, and now that we're trying to inform them, they are agitated, rightfully so, because in their mind, we're ripping away the foundation of America. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right. Yeah. And I realized after I said it, that was actually a really stupid question because it's racist everywhere. But I guess I meant more like, is like, do you notice like, I guess more aggressively racist than, say, Tacoma?
Well, first off, there's Spokane is one of the most closeted conservative towns I've ever been in. You have a lot of people that'll say shit to your face, but at that voting booth, that shit changes. Obviously, or we wouldn't have
Right.
some of the politicians we've had, right? But it's those microaggressions that hit you. I think I say it all the time. I can handle being called the N word. Please, please do. At least I know where we stand. You know what I mean? But to fuck around and not give somebody a job because of their name, like I've seen people that I've helped people find employment, and brother couldn't get a job, so he changed his name on his application, and he had an MBA. You know what I'm saying? From like
Right.
some crazy school. So it's that here we very much do have this "Make America Great Again" concept, and we I spend a lot of time in my job and my comedy, and I teach about race relations in America because the reality is these white folks don't know what really happened. They literally think we're the conditions we're under because of us.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, we have the highest infant mortality rate in the United States because of us. Our babies died more because of us. Is that what you're saying? Southside Chicago does not only have black people. There are Polish people there, but when you think Southside Chicago, you think us and the murder rate. They'll say shit like black on black crime. I'll say Columbine. Like that's
Right.
as white on white crime as it gets. So these conversations happen continuously because, quite honestly, while there is racism, some people are just ignorant and they don't know what they don't know.
Right.
And I think that's institutional racism. That's the whole point. So
Right.
yeah, it's definitely a challenge though. I've had some people ask me some crazy shit, like, "How did you get your job?" I'm like, "Indeed, motherfucker. That's not affirmative action. No, no.
Uh,
How'd you pay for college? Financial aid, motherfucker. Like, but it is.
right. What's your
But
Instagram?
Anthony Singleton 47,
All
and I
right.
do have a funny story about racism though.
Okay.
Okay, so I was training for Bloomsday. You ever heard of it?
No.
It's a race here. It's like 7 miles. Africans always win it. I don't even know why I was training. But I was training, and this lady runs with my coworker. This lady yells out the window, "Run, slave, run!"
No.
Yeah, and my coworker was furious. I thought it was fucking hilarious because I don't have the body type to escape slavery. Like that's a no go. You know, it's like that. That was never gonna happen, and that's when. So I said that to say this: whenever shit like that happens, I write a joke about it.
Right. Yeah. Um, let me see. This is going to come out early March. Early March. Do you have anything to promote around that time that you can think of?
Well, listen, that's a great question because I actually run a booking and comedy business called Family First Entertainment. I started telling jokes into skippers about a year and a half ago, like an idiot, and I just started working on material. And then we grew to 3 venues, and we have a constant venue where we are booked for the whole entire year already. So it's called. It is right now called the Marathon Comedy Series, inspired by Nipsey Hussle, but some legal people contacted me, not from there, but give me some good advice saying we probably should change the name. So it's
Mm-hmm.
going to be called Dedicated to the Hustle comedy series. And right now we have 10 shows booked.
Nice.
So we, like after February, we have the Black History Show. And we have Adam Tiller coming in. And then in March, Adam Tiller's coming again. But he's doing the show with Harry J. Riley, myself, Charles Hall, and Jody Carroll. So that's in March. That's a if you know comics, that's a murder,
Right.
right? So that's in March. Then after that, we have one. We're filming a comedy special in April called Latex Demons. It's a fake band that does not exist. We have pictures and everything for it. It's a rock band. It's
Mm-hmm.
stupid as hell. It's stupid as hell. It's gonna be good. Um, and then after that, we have Single Wide Female, which is a trailer park show. We have an all women show where I'm not even they're the boss. Like I'm, you know, and then we have the gay ass comedy show that's going to be held also in August. So I'm in charge of Pride in the Valley this year, and I do a show called the Gay Ass Comedy Show. It's all for queer comics and for them. So yeah, that's the lineup right now, and I've forgot about some shows. We're shooting a comedy special called Spokane Famous for myself in August, right in December. My buddy who's filming the comedy special is Colton Drake, super funny dude. Yeah, so that's what we're doing. We are the only comedy series outside the Spokane Comedy Club in Spokane, Washington,
Good. That sounds great. All
and it's
right.
black
Now,
owned.
yeah. Um, have you ever come over this way and do Nate's Club yet?
No, I was in Portland recently though. I'm making my way. I wanted to get good. You know how it is.
Right. It's a great club. It really is nice.
I need to get down there.
Yeah. All right. I didn't warn you about this, so I apologize. And if it takes you a minute to think of something, we can cut that out. But I'm just going to sit here now and let you tell me a story, an entertaining story that has to do with sex. However, whatever angle you want to come from.
That's interesting. Just one, huh?
We'll see.
Wow. Well, okay, here's the thing. When I got divorced, right, I started realizing that I wasn't necessarily the individual I needed to be in the bedroom that I wanted to be. I didn't know there were certain things that I liked. Right. I'm sure that happens to people if you don't really explore that.
Right.
Right. But I remember the first time I ever saw Shibari in my life. Right. And if you would have told me 6 years ago that I'd be into anything like that, I would have been like, you're out of your fucking mind. There's no way.
What does that mean?
Oh, Shibari is Japanese rope tying.
Okay.
Right. And when you look at the pictures, you're like, dude, well, let's back up. The internet has many sides. There is sex, then there's like darker sex, and there's just straight depravity, right? Like you don't want anything to do with this side. And sometimes when you're researching, both those things come in.
Right.
So you feel like you're like, oh, I'm afraid, but you kept looking back at it. And I remember the first time I actually tried it, and I tell you what, the thing about knots and pressure and consent and communication, that's all good. But nobody ever tells you about actually tying a goddamn rope. That can take the sexy out of some shit if you don't know what you're doing. You're like, yeah, I got these fucking, you got it all researched, right? I got tape, right? I got the scissors, I got cotton rope. And you're like, I've been watching videos. I can do this, bro. I'm a Boy Scout, son. Like, I got this.
Right.
But you realize there's no fucking Shibari badge. Like how to tie a girl up so you don't kill her. Like you
Right.
can't walk around with that. That sounds aggressive.
Yeah.
So like it's real wonky and crazy, right? You're like tying, you're fucking up knots, and the sexy you think is going through the room, like it's leaving. It's like when a man's trying to have sex and he says he knows what he's doing, but he really doesn't know what he's doing, and you can tell because nothing's fitting together like it should.
Or like
That's
when
what
you
it felt
stop
like.
to put a condom on and it's like kind of breaks that
Yeah.
tension, of the room.
Okay. But imagine that times 10, 15 minutes.
Right.
so, so it was like the most awkward experience I've ever had. With that said, after I got past that, I started to realize some things about myself and my partner at the time. The one thing that I started to realize is that I'm a dominant person. I never thought I was a dominant person. I never, like, people say I've been a leader, but whatever. You don't think any leader doesn't call themselves a leader. It doesn't, that's stupid. Right.
Right.
And so you start realizing that you're a dominant person and that you actually like someone being submissive, and that becomes your thing. And then your brain changes and you're like, well, without that, I can't climax like I did before. And I think that that was a real awakening for me. And it was fun, entertaining, weird, but I learned a lot.
Right.
Well, that's a good story, I think. I think that's a story. Crushed it. Just kidding. I don't know. I don't know.
No, it's interesting, and I learned something. So, uh,
Did you not know?
no,
Oh, there's classes here, dude. It's crazy.
really.
Yeah, there's like two places, Atomic Threads, they do classes, and there's a guy who has his own business that does it.
Okay, so
And
I got a couple of questions.
yeah,
Japanese rope tying. So does that mean that that it came from Japan, or that there's a special Japanese way that you do it, or is it that you only have sex with Japanese people? Like, what is it? Where does it come from, or what does it mean? Yeah.
first off, it's not necessarily always related to sex. It's more of the artistic side,
Okay.
right? So it's the specific knots that you tie, though, because usually they suspend people
Okay.
so that they're in the rope. The rope is holding them. So there's a level of art with the rope tying, and then a level of pain. Obviously, if someone's hanging,
Mm-hmm.
right? I think that I'm not necessarily into the hanging thing yet because black dudes and hanging we're not doing you
Right.
know I'm just kidding, but I think that's a little more experienced. But I've seen a lot of different art. It's just beautiful. You have a naked woman, right? She's in these knots that are just beautiful. It's like a design, and that's the whole nature of it. Now, what you choose to do at that point is based on the individual sexually.
Right. Okay.
But obviously, the control piece and the lack of control piece are both very much, you know, something that becomes sexual, right? That
Right.
given, yeah, fun.
All right. Well, learn something new every day.
Me too.
Yeah. All right. Those are all the questions I have for you. Do you have any other stories that you want to throw out real quick, or think we're
No, I
good?
have questions. I have questions. How did you get into this? Why did you start doing this podcast?
Oh, good question. It's because, first of all, do you know Ken Hamlet?
No.
He's a comedian that was from Seattle, and then he went to Chicago. Um, sometimes he goes back and forth. So he had the idea, and he gave it to me, mostly because uh, my comedy's all not all. It's a lot of sex jokes. That's kind of my persona is that I'm this ex ho, and so that's just how it happened. Because I get tired of people saying, "But Cheri's so dirty," because I'll get up and talk about my vagina, and I use the word vagina, but then some other guy comes up and starts talking about jizz and stuff. Well, he's not dirty, but I am. It just
Yep.
happens. Cheri is dirty. She's dirty, 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 and I'm so sick of people trying to make me clean. It's like, to me, it's just more slut shaming. So I'm like, I decided that instead of trying to change myself, I'm just going to embrace what this is. And I'm going to own it and make it my thing. And so we're doing the podcast, and we're also doing a live show now. We're taking it on tour. So,
I think that's fucking huge. And I'll tell you why. Because as a man that raised daughters, and there's a lot of young men in my circle, you're absolutely fucking right. Like, I remember when WAP came out,
mhm,
right? That song is one of the most impactful songs for a woman to ever drop in the history of rap music.
Mm-hmm.
And it was them sexualizing themselves and them taking control. And I remember Snoop said that he didn't think that song should be out. I said, Snoop Dogg, it ain't no fun if the homies can't have none. That guy
Yeah.
said that. So when you take your power back, you're disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
But when we sexualize you, it's funny.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's so dumb. So I'm glad that you're doing this, because I have these conversations with men all the time. Like, bro, you don't really know what you think you know. Every young man will tell you they're great in bed. Not true.
Right. Yeah.
And I know it's not true because you don't have the experience in life to understand what it is you're trying to accomplish. You don't ask a woman what they want. You don't ask a woman what her needs are. Like, that's literally, there are books, all this stuff, and we don't pick them up.
Right.
And so it's important for you to do shit like that, because men need to know that because really essentially what they're trying to do is have sex with anyone and you not have a say. Well, that we know what that is.
Right. Right.
And so I think anything like this is super impactful, especially for young women too, that need to hear the truth, that it's okay for them to be themselves.
Right. Yeah.
So cool.
That's
Thanks
what
for
we're
doing it.
doing here. Yeah. So thank you. All right. It was a
All right.
lovely meeting you. Have a great birthday. And hopefully we'll get to work together soon.
Hey, and if you ever on the side of the mountain and have a show, you're in for free. So just let me know. Reach out.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.